Hi, folks. Despite the pandemic, I am moving forward with my plans to build a tiny house this summer. And starting in the second week of May, the exterior of what you see here is going to start getting built. I'm not going to build the entire interior in the same location as I build the exterior, so it's hard to say exactly how long all of this will take. But I wanted to show people the design because I think it's pretty interesting. The exterior design, the shell of this structure, and I can show you kind of what more like what it's going to look like, is was designed by a guy named Ben, who is helping me build the exterior. I did some of the interior design work. He did some of the interior design work. I've basically just been trying to reteach myself SketchUp. Um, the exception is that this exterior design is a little bit incorrect at this point because this door is going to be on the side here and this window is going to be over here. So I moved things around a little bit. And this build doesn't have the skylight, which we do have over here on the framed out structure. So let's take a closer look and I'll do my best with the scrolling. The centerpiece of this house for me is the wood stove. I've wanted one for a long time. I loved growing up with one. And so this particular stove, I think, is going to be a stove called the Vermont Bun Burner. And it is a wood stove with an oven beneath it. It's actually quite large for a space this size. It can heat up to 1,000 square feet. And this house will be 20 by 8.5. So I don't know, do the math, less than 1,000 by far. Um, However, I have had experience with smaller stoves, and it is really difficult to get wood the right size, and they burn out really quickly because you can't put very much wood in them. And so, even though this might be too much for a space this size, I'm going to get a larger one. And I think that's just going to offer me the ability to have the stove running all night, hopefully, so that it's not too cold in the morning, because this is going to be my only source of heat. That is the intention. Above the wood stove, I have a platform. I'm not entirely sure about whether this can be built or not. It's going to need to be to have space for the flue, and there's really nowhere else that the wood stove can go because of the window placement. So I'm going to have to get some expert advice on this particular structure. And if I can do it, it's intended to be a storage platform. Moving into the house, and let's see if we can get inside a little bit more. Yeah, let's look down this way. So leading up to the loft, which is over here on the other side of this wall right now, is this staircase. And this staircase was based on a design by Anna White, who built her own tiny house up in Alaska with her husband. And the reason for stairs instead of a ladder is I have a dog, and I would like the dog to be able to come sleep in the bed with me. I also am not a huge fan of ladders for in the middle of the night. I grew up sleeping on the top bunk of a bunk bed, and that was fine when I was a kid, but one broken arm from falling off a thing later, and I would rather not have a ladder. The staircase is designed to be most of my storage. This is storage, this is storage, this is storage, and then there's a cubby that this platform is structural. It can be stood upon. That will also serve as storage. And this may end up having drawers and be a sort of pantry. I haven't decided yet. This box down at the bottom here, initially this was just supposed to be here and sort of sticking out into the floor, but I really didn't like that idea. And so I thought, well, could I make this slide in and out? And then I thought, well, if I do that, it needs to be a solid box, but it needs to support weight because obviously I'm going to climb on it. What kind of storage could I use there? And so then I thought, well, what about a lid that flips up? And then I thought about, well, what about a hay box? Could I turn this stair into a hay box? And so that is my plan. I'm going to insulate the inside of it and have it be double walled. And so then when I'm cooking, when I want to take something off of the propane cooktop and save energy, I can put it inside of here. And the Dutch oven that I have will fit in here. So I think it will work really well. And then the other thing is, if this slides all the way out, which is my intention, I can use it as a stool for other things, to, maybe get up to stuff that I have on shelves up here on the walls, or to get up to that other platform on the other side if it's tall enough. Because I am constantly finding a need to have a stool in my house because I am only 4'11". And even as much as I'm going to try to design this house to meet my particular height requirements, like the countertops will be a little bit lower than average and so on. There's still usefulness in storing things that aren't used very frequently, kind of above the typical reach for somebody my size. So it could be useful to have a stool. Moving down the rest of the kitchen, what I've got here on the right, see if we can get you there. How do I show you? Can I delete this door? Right here, I've got this kind of fold out table, and this table is actually going to slide into the countertop, and then it's going to come out and it'll have, it might have a leg that screws in that just gets leaned up against the wall or tucked into a corner or something, or it might have a bracket coming off the wall that kind of folds in and out. Haven't decided. Really is going to depend on the weight of this table leg and how much stability it needs, and there might need to be 2 brackets against the wall because it's quite sizable. And then the intention here is for somebody to be able to sit at this counter and work on their laptop, or a couple of people could sit here and eat, and look out this nice big picture window. Why is there a need for a slat? Well, this hole in the countertop is designed to accommodate a 12-volt refrigerator that opens from the top. My hope is to get this tiny house to eventually be entirely solar, and so it benefits me to plan on 12-volt appliances instead of 110. Although I may jump through all the hoops of double wiring and have 110 volts and all that stuff. But this is a quite large, basically chest refrigerator, and it's got 2 compartments, a fridge and a freezer. And it's very expensive, but it's not as expensive as some other refrigerators I've seen that are upright. And then a refrigerator that opens from the top like that is actually much more energy efficient than a refrigerator that opens outward. And I feel like I can get away with a smaller refrigerator space because I have a chest freezer. The chest freezer is not going to go into the tiny house. It's near the tiny house. It's outside on a different circuit. And so I'm just going to sort of live with that compromise of, I have a chest freezer that follows me around wherever I go, and I need to plan on having electricity for it. And then my home proper will be completely off grid, and then maybe someday I will have sufficient electrical capability to also power the chest freezer in some way. Underneath the compartment for the refrigerator are 2 drawers, and they aren't going to be able to go all the way back because the wheel well is there. And then over here is my intention is to have a 2-burner propane gas stove top, and I don't think I'm going to go with an insert, although I might. We'll see. This is sticking out because my intention is to not have an insert. And part of the reason for that is, in the process of building the tiny house, I'm going to spend most of the summer camping in the woods, and I'm purchasing a 2-burner propane stove that works with the 5-gallon propane tanks that I already have. And so it would be easier to just use that and repurpose it for the tiny house when I'm done with the tiny house build. And then underneath there will be drawers, and this cutout of the sizes of the drawers is not necessarily realistic. I'm not entirely sure exactly what will go here as yet. And then over here is just more countertop space. And in theory, this could be a propane oven. And if it were, then these 2 burners wouldn't be necessary. I get a lot of use out of my oven currently, and so to not have one is perhaps a sacrifice, and it would change how I heat things up and how I cook things. But I also think I could be doing more with my Dutch oven, and that I could heat most things that I heat in the oven in my Dutch oven on top of a propane top. So, um, really could go either way here. Additionally, I have this long term thought that I might get a biogas digester and then pipe it in underneath the window here and get a biogas a single or double burner cooktop and get rid of the propane and try to fully support my cooking needs with the biogas digester. Um, we'll see. That's a whole additional level of project, and the digester has to be kept heated in the winter, and it's a whole thing. On this side is a sink underneath this window. And then I've found living in an RV that it's really helpful to be able to get to all water related plumbing at all times. And so there's going to be just a way to open this here, probably a fake cabinet that like completely detaches or folds out or something. And then underneath a drawer, more drawers, and then a little bit of counter space. And I find that it's useful to have more counter space right next to the sink than I currently have. And so I thought I could have a pull out cutting board or something to that effect. And it might also just fold down from the wall right here. Because what's over here is a bathroom wall. Oops. Bear with me, folks. Here we go. And the bathroom is back in this zone. This is a inset shower. It's 32 by 32, and it's got a glass door on this side. And then on the other side, my intention is to just have a single composting toilet, a bucket, which is the system I currently use, 5-gallon bucket, with a container for wood chips, and then some storage space underneath for toilet paper or soap or whatever. There's no sink in the bathroom. I really feel like that's kind of a superfluous situation since there's such a nice large kitchen sink in the kitchen. And I will probably just have a little zone over here for my sink toiletries, or like a medicine chest or something on this wall so that I can put everything away. And then moving right along, we've got this loft up here. And I've just been kind of... Oops, hello? What did we do? Where did we go? There we go. I've just been kind of playing with the sizes of the mattress here. And so I started out with a full-sized mattress in dimensions, and now I'm down to a twin XL, but it's much thicker than an average mattress, because I think I saw this in a tiny house that I visited. The woman who built the house built a platform for the mattress to rest on, and then the mattress lifted up on a couple of hinges, but they're sort of loaded, so it's not a full weight. And I really liked that for two reasons. One of them was it was nice to have a little bit of storage under the bed, like you could put flat boxes and winter clothing and sheets and pillows and things. And then the other was it's good to have airflow under the mattress, so I can imagine building a platform like that, but slatted. There's a lot of moisture in the forest where I live, and I have 2 dehumidifiers running in the RV. And so managing the moisture, managing the heat, managing the air tightness, managing mold is all something I've gotten a lot of practice in since September. So this might end up being it might end up being a twin XL. I may get a second mattress and stack it underneath the first one in case I have guests. I'm going to have to play around with that and see, is there enough space for headroom? Do I feel comfortable, etc. I'm pretty short, and so I can get away with playing with the distance between the top of the mattress and the top of the ceiling without risking hitting my head too much. But I'll just have to see. And then over here, I, again, have just been playing around with basically building boxes. This is a large extension of the loft, and it may not be structurally sound. I need to get some advice on this. It might need a post under this corner. and that post might really be in the way of the entire floor. So that might not be a thing, and this might need to end up being smaller. Initially, it was just this one square over here, and then I extended it. So we'll see. But of course, it's supposed to attach to the ceiling as well with planks or 2x4s, like all the way across. So there would be a 2x4 here, and there would be a 2x4 here, and there would be like a wall surrounding this entire thing. And I just haven't put all of that in because I don't need to, and it makes it harder to see and to work in here. So I imagine having this section be kind of a closet. I really like to hang all my clothes. I hate folding. It makes laundry last. It just takes so much longer. And so I thought, well, what would be not in the way of the mattress basically jutting right up against the shelving? And I think hanging clothes would be the way to not have anything get lost down here in this space between the top of the mattress and the bottom of the shelf. The mattress, of course, could also be rotated a different way, and then you basically just climb into bed as you get up the stairs. So that might be a way to mitigate blocking off access to the bottom of the closet. I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I think I'm going to have to really play around with it when I get all of this built and actually get a mattress up there. And then over here are a couple more different sort of shelving options. And I could see these being, squares or perhaps drawers or something like that. Pretty flexible and not sure quite yet. And then I left this corner open so that I could kind of kneel in here and get into these shelves in the tallest section of the ceiling that would exist there. And then up here is my favorite part of this house, which is the skylight. I insisted. It is expensive. It is superfluous. It is unnecessary. But I have wanted a skylight above my bed since I can remember, like since I was a very small child. And so since I built my house, I I went for it. Yeah. And the last thing is here on the back is a propane powered instant hot water heater. And it's like right next to the shower and right next to the sink. So I'm really trying to minimize and simplify the kind of plumbing and heating I need to do here. And I of course will be getting help with those things because I don't know very much. But that's the intention, is to have this back here. And then it will just sort of go down and there will be a propane tank underneath. I also currently in the RV have a couple of water barrels outside kind of a section where I have an opening for a water tank. And so I can imagine doing something similar here where I have an internal water tank under the sink. And then a couple of barrels outside to increase my water storage. Right now I have the capacity for about 150 gallons. It's not full and it's not fully built or finished yet. But I really like having a little bit more stored than just one tank because sometimes the power goes out here on this property where I am. And when that happens, the pump stops working and we don't get water from the spigots anymore. So having a little bit of extra makes me somewhat more off grid. And then ultimately this roofing material is going to be capable of collecting rainwater. Like I made sure that it was the right kind of material and stuff. And so I could run a drain pipe off the bottom edge or a gutter off the bottom edge and then route it around the house and into a couple of barrels. Probably I would go this way. So gutter pipe into a couple of barrels on a platform. All of that is down the road a little bit, but it is my hope to be able to also collect rainwater and treat it and drink it. Thanks for listening to all of this and bearing with me as I wiggled around. I'm pretty excited about this and hoping that other people share my excitement.